Hey everyone, Martin from Lingo here. I decided to make a video on why the simple present tense is not simple at all. So let's dive right in. The simple present, as you know, it's the verb tense that's often taught first in language course books. So we often start in Unit 1 in, say, an elementary or pre-intermediate level English course book. We'll have sentence level practice with examples such as I live in Cairns, or something like I work at the university, and maybe eat, such as I usually eat toast for breakfast. And so starting with these kinds of sentences, the book then progresses into the present continuous, such as I'm living in Cairns. I'm working, let me just correct that typo. I'm working at the university and I'm eating toast. So Unit 1 is the simple present. I live in Cairns. Unit 2 is the present continuous or the present progressive tense. I'm living in Cairns. So the point I want to make today is that although we call it the simple present, it's not really simple, because when you say I live in Cairns, that doesn't just mean at this moment. So I live in Cairns means I lived there yesterday, I live there today, and most likely I'm going to live there in the future. And so actually we have all three tenses represented in this sentence, I live in Cairns. We've got past and present and future all combined into one. Just the same when we're talking about work and jobs. If someone says, I work at the university, again, it means that I worked there in the past, and I work there at the moment, and as long as there's a job for me, I'm going to continue working there in the immediate future. So it's really not simple. It encompasses all of that time in just the so-called simple present tense. And so a better word for this, really, I think, would be the habitual present. The habitual present. Because it's a present tense which conveys some kind of habitual event, something that happens over and over. In functional linguistics, we sometimes refer to the habitual present tense, and I think that it's a much more fitting label for this kind of meaning. Now, there is one thing that all these sentences have in common, and I wonder if you can guess what that is, apart from them all being the simple present tense or the habitual present tense. Can you guess, or can you recognize what these three sentences have in common? So the answer is that they all are material processes. Now, if you've never heard of a material process, I'll explain what that is right now. A material process, well, first of all, we need to know what a process is. And a process, I suppose it's another word for a verb, but a verb is literally the part of speech. It's the, what kind of word is this in terms of, nouns and verbs and adverbs and adjectives and so on. But a process is a function of a verb. And so a process is an event which is realized through a verb. What that means is, in a sentence like this, I live in Cairns, we have the verb live, but what is the event of living? What is the meaning of live? It's something that people do. All right, it's something that people do. It's a material process. And it's maybe not the best example to start with. A better example may be eat. So eat is also a material process because it's something that people do. And you can ask the question, what did you do to the toast? Or what did you do with the toast? And the answer is, I ate the toast, right? So that proves that eating is something that we can do. What do you do at the university? I work at the university. So this is, in both cases, eat and work. It's something that people do. Therefore, it's a material process. And live is also a material process, but it's starting to, it's kind of in between material and relational, which I will talk about in a minute. So anyway, with material processes, the examples I've given here show that when we use the simple present with a material process, it does not mean that the process or the event is happening just at this moment. It's happening, as I mentioned, in the past and in the present and in the future, with all three of them. If we wanted to show that the process, say, of eating is happening just in the present moment, then we would use the present continuous or the present progressive. So if we wanted to say happening in the present moment, then we would say, I am eating toast. So the process of eating is happening right now, not in the past, not in the future, but now, at the present moment of speaking. And the same thing with work. If someone were to say, I'm working on it, so that's not the same thing as I have a job at the university, which I go to every day. What it means is I am doing the work at the present moment. And so there's another misleading label, the present continuous. The present continuous tense, it's not really continuous, because if you say I'm eating toast right now, that's not an event that's going to continue very far into the future. That event is going to continue for however long it takes for me to finish my toast, and then it's going to stop. So it's not continuous at all. Really, the continuous version of eating toast would be this one here, the simple present or the habitual present, because that's the process that's going to continue again and again into the future. So, I believe that the simple present and the present continuous are both misleading labels for verb tenses. Anyway, going back to material processes for a second, we identified that these three example sentences on the screen are all material processes. They're processes of doing, or in other words, the verb has the function of doing. There are other process types, and today's video is not the time to go through all of them, but I will just contrast these material processes with a couple of other types so that we can see them more clearly. I mentioned before that we have another type of process called relational. Before I go on, let me just give these three examples the heading of material processes. Yeah, so I mentioned before that we also have relational processes, and relational is when we relate one thing with another. The easiest and most common relational process is to be, right? So if we say, I am a teacher, for instance, I am a teacher, so we're relating the I of the sentence with a teacher. We're saying these two entities are connected, are related. I and a teacher. I am a teacher. This is an example of a relational process, and there are other types, but today I want to focus just on the most simple relational process, which is be. I am a teacher. So now, if you were to say, let me just pop this up here for a moment. I am being a teacher. Now that would have a very different meaning. I'm being a teacher. One of these sentences means that my job is a teacher and I teach every day. And another of the sentences means that my job is not a teacher, but today I'm just doing it temporarily, or I'm pretending to be one. And which one's which? Of course, the first sentence here is that I'm a teacher, it's my job to teach, and I come to work every day at the university and I teach. And of course, the second one means that only for today, or only for the moment, the present moment, I'm taking on this role. So with relational processes, in fact, this one's very strange. It's not that it's strange, it's just that the situation in which we would use this sentence is very restricted. I mean, just off the top of my head, I can imagine perhaps some children playing, some young children, and maybe they're doing a kind of role play game, and one kid says, I'm going to be a doctor, and another kid says, I'm being a teacher in this game. You know what I mean? This is the only kind of situation that I can quickly think of. It's the only context that my mind can construct for using this particular form right here. And so the reason that I wanted to contrast material and relational processes is to show the different default choice for the verb tense. In other words, if we had, let's go back to our material processes, we'll just jump back here for a moment. If we say, I'm eating toast, remember that means that it's happening in the present moment only. you know, and that is honestly, for material processes, that's when we use them most commonly. You know, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm eating breakfast. What are you doing now? I'm watching TV. Watch is not the best example, but I'm playing a video game. You know, and when you say I play video games, that's the habitual present where I play them every day, or you know, it's my hobby and I do it over and over. So what I'm trying to say here is, for each type of process, like material or relational processes, we have a kind of default option. You know, if we're choosing between the simple present and the present continuous, there is a default option. For material processes, right, the default option is the present progressive. I'm not going to call it the present continuous because, you know, as I mentioned, I'm not a fan of that label. So let's just call it the present progressive. For material processes, in other words, processes of doing, actions and events that construe doing, the default option is the present progressive, as in I am eating, I am working, and so on. And why is that the default option? It's because we most often use it, like we use it more commonly. As I mentioned before, what are you doing? And the answer would be, you know, I'm eating, or I'm working at the moment. If we take the non-default option, let's just call it non-default for now. I know it's not a great label. The non-default option is the present, the simple present. All right. So the non-default option being the simple present. Now, what does that mean? It means if we choose the non-default option, such as I eat toast, then what that means is there is a special reason why I didn't go with the default. There's a special reason, there's a special meaning or significance for choosing this one. And in the case of material processes, the reason why I went with the non-default option is to show that it happens every day, or it happens, you know, past, present, and future. And that's why it's the non-default option. It has a special significance. In functional grammar, we have a different word for default and non-default. We'll call them unmarked, the unmarked choice or the unmarked option, and the marked option. All right, the unmarked option is your default go-to option. It's the one which is expected. I am eating. The marked option means because we did not go with the default, we are giving this clause or this sentence some special meaning or some special interpretation. We'll call that the marked option, because of course I eat toast means every day, past, present, and future. That's the special meaning that we're giving to this process by choosing the so-called simple present tense. All right. So, what can we say? We can say that for material processes, the unmarked choice is the present progressive. Yeah, for material processes, the unmarked verb tense is the present progressive. But for relational processes, such as, I am a teacher, for relational processes, the unmarked choice, or the unmarked option, what did I say up here? Choice. The unmarked choice is the simple present. Because for relational processes, this kind of relation, the fact that I am a teacher, this doesn't change easily or quickly. It takes quite a lot of, a lot of time perhaps, and energy and influence to shift this, if I am a teacher, I can't just change my job easily. It's something that requires a fair bit of effort and planning to change my career. Because it doesn't change that easily or that quickly, it makes sense that we choose the habitual simple present tense, because that's what it means. The habitual present is something that happened in the past, that happens now, and that will most likely continue to happen in the future, at least for the immediate future. And so that's why for relational processes, the unmarked choice is the habitual present, or the simple present. And the marked choice, or the option that gives special significance or a special interpretation to the sentence, is the present progressive. I'm being a teacher. If we hear that, it's just a little bit odd. It's not the common choice. It's not the default choice. So when we hear I'm being a teacher, we immediately start to imagine, well, first of all, it's quite jarring, and we pay attention to that, and we think, why did that person say I'm being a teacher? And of course, the special significance, as we mentioned, maybe it's the children playing and taking on different roles. Maybe that's the way that we interpret this marked choice. I want to finish off with one more example of all this, and we're going to look at one more process type. This one is the mental process type. So mental processes are processes of thinking and liking and sensing. So basically anything that happens inside a human's head is a mental process. Thinking and believing and knowing, and also all of the senses like taste and sight and smell, they're all mental processes too. So I know you well. There's my example sentence. I know you well. Know is a mental process, because knowing is a cognitive thing that happens inside my brain. So I know you well, that would be the habitual simple present. And if we were to contrast with the present progressive, it would be like this, I'm knowing you well. I'm knowing you well, which is a bit strange, honestly. I mean, I can't think of a context in which this sentence, this choice would be used right now. I'm sure there is one, and I'm sure that given enough time I could think of one, but it's just so uncommon. One more example. I like music. I like music. Every day. It's not something that changes quickly. Just I'm a fan. I listen to music every day and I enjoy it. I like music. I'm liking music. So strange. So unusual. Or maybe, we could make it a tiny bit less unusual by saying I'm liking, or this music, I'm liking this music, Maybe this is a brand new style of music that I've never heard before. I'm hearing it for the first time, and I like what I hear. This is sounding good to me. So yeah, that's pretty much the only context that I can think where a sentence like this would be used, and it's totally fine. It's a very natural choice in that context, but it's a very specific and special context. So again, it's not that I'm liking the music is wrong, or that I'm knowing you or I'm knowing him is wrong. It's just that that's not the usual situation for that kind of process. So going back to marked and unmarked, what would the unmarked choice for mental processes be, given these examples on the screen? The unmarked choice for mental processes is the simple present or the present progressive. It's the simple present, isn't it? Or the simple habitual present tense. Definitely the habitual present. I know you. I like the music. I believe. Yeah, these are all the default option or the unmarked choice for mental processes. So that's our little statement there. And of course, the marked, the choice in which we give some special interpretation, some special significance to the sentence. When we're using mental processes, in other words, processes of thinking and feeling and sensing, then the marked choice is the present progressive tense, such as, I'm knowing you or I'm liking the music. This is like the relational processes. This is a very special case if we use the present progressive in this way. Okay, so just to finish all that off, I just wanted to make a connection between what I've talked about today and what the English course books typically or traditionally refer to as action and state verbs. It's a really important distinction. And when I first came across this idea as a new English language teacher, it really opened up my mind to think that, wow, there's different kinds of verbs. There's action verbs, which are verbs of doing, and there are also state verbs, which suggests that something is just the same, a state of being rather than an actual action. Really, these are just different terms, or more traditional terms, for material processes and mental and relational processes. Relational and mental processes are states. But I like the functional approach because we distinguish between mental and relational. In traditional grammar, they're just lumped together as states, and it's never that simple. Another thing that the course books usually tell us is that it's wrong, or it's a bad choice to use state verbs in the progressive tense. Well, as we've seen before, in this video rather, it's not that it's wrong, it's not that there is any problem with using relational or mental processes in the progressive tense. It's just that when we do, we get, it's a marked choice. We get a very special meaning and a very special context which is created. In other words, the form, when we choose a marked choice, that linguistic form creates a very specific reality in the mind. Alright, that is enough for one video. Thanks very much for watching this to the end. I hope you enjoyed it, hope you learned something from it, and please subscribe to my channel. Please like and share this video, and hit all the buttons. I really appreciate it, and I'll be making more of these videos. So if you like what you see, subscribe it, share it with your friends, and I'll see you again soon.